Hello. I apologize in advance for my sorry look. I'm suffering allergies. I just took a walk outside, and the wind is blowing, and it's lovely. And I was like smelling flowers on the wind, and now I'm in here just like, oh, I'm about to die. Okay, so um, so this video for Dr. Siegert's class, you can hand in like a screen capture or a URL of the video and get that extra credit. So I will help you fulfill that as well as helping you with your assignment. So when I was looking at electric vehicles, and I have to disclose that my family does own a Nissan Leaf, an electric car, and this was part of our questions. Is it worth it? How do we measure that? How do we determine what's our criteria for the value of environmental sustainability? And it gets really complex because we have like coal-fired power plants, or do we have solar, or where's our electricity coming from, and then like the rare earth metals, and how do we find that stuff without knowing um, all of that baggage of details? Sustainability. So when you look at the concept of sustainability, they usually break it into like three things: environmental, economic, and social. And so I've got a few places where we can look for that. But I think um, sustainability is a measurement of how helpful or not it is for the environment. And when you're talking about that, you're comparing it to gasoline or diesel or mass transit or any number of different things. So, how do we get a hold of that? You have the luxury that this has been analyzed like crazy since the 1970s when we had a gasoline energy crisis. So, you're going to have more than you can than you wish to have. So, how can we narrow that down to like a rational discussion like today, instead of looking at like old grumps like myself arguing from the 80s? Well, that's a good question. Okay, let me show you. When you go out to the open web, as you probably found, there's a lot of things going on. There's political action groups. Maybe it's a coal, maybe it's the electricity industry, maybe it's the solar industry, maybe it's the auto industry, maybe there's regulatory issues, maybe they're talking about air pollution. All of that on the open web is probably pretty accessible, so I'm not going to touch on that. But there are some key players that you can go into. The World Health Organization. How do you find these things? All you have to do, World Health Organization, if you want to search them, put a colon and put electric automobiles. And it'll search in the context of World Health Organization. And they'll give you what are the effects of health on transport. So these are not scholarly per se, but they're better than like the opinionated stuff. You can also do, the United States has the Department of Transportation, and they're going to have stuff that they put out too. A lot of ads in there, isn't there? So transportation.gov, they're going to have some data, solid data. It's not going to be scholarly analysis, but it's just going to be data where you get to decide. And the last one on the open web is Department of Energy, because we want to become energy independent. That seems to be like a political thing. Look at this. The pecanstreet.org, what the heck are they? Electric vehicle facts, what's their position? So you'd want to go to like energy.gov and see what they have to say. So let's go back to the library. How do we look at these things? Oh, by the way, you can use electric car or electric automobile. I don't know what the convention is, but I would lean towards the more formal. And in the library catalog, electric automobile, there's a couple tricks that I'm doing here. I will explain. When you're looking in the library catalog, again, I apologize for my sniffing. Electric automobile, if you go to the open web, there's an algorithm that'll take those two terms and kind of stick them together. But in databases and catalogs, you have to put them in quotes to stick those two keywords together. Otherwise, you might get electric here and automobile there. And it gets like a lot of less relevant results. The reason that they do it this way is because some people deliberately want you to find stuff in a particular way, and they'll write a recipe for finding it. And so there's very little in the algorithm, and it's much more directed at the text that you put in and how you frame it. So this is what would be called an exact phrase. Another one is this little star. This works in the databases too. I don't think it works on Google. I think you have to do it another way. This will catch any iterations of automobile. So automobile, automobiles. And now, if we do a search, here's our first tip. The catalog is kind of like 7-Eleven or Target, where you know reliably that just about everything's in there, but it's not going to have like comprehensively in there. So the catalog, you're going to get some previews here, but if you go to the catalog, goodness gracious, I'm going to need tissues. Oh. If you go to the catalog, again, it's not comprehensive, but it's going to have all the disciplines in here, so you can see other people that are measuring it. And maybe we should have put in the keyword sustainability, which would catch economic, social, environmental. So 7,000 results. This is a brainstorming tool. I'll go into more specific databases. Oh, there's a history of the electric automobile. Oh, how cool is that? Apparently like 1890s. By the way, shortcut, if you just want peer-reviewed journals, you can limit right there. But I want to narrow down to what's going on today, because is it lithium-ion batteries versus nickel-cadmium batteries? Lithium-ions is kind of new, and it's kind of like batteries in my laptop, and they last a lot longer, and they don't have degradation issues, and they've figured out the explosive issues where like Teslas would catch on fire in laptops. But if it goes back to 1800 over here on the date, let's come up to the most recent 2 years. I bet a lot has happened. Yeah, so like a seventh have happened in the last 2 years. Ooh, Formula E. Have you ever heard of that? It's electric race cars, and they're developing it. Runs along with Formula One. I remember in the first race, some car flipped over, and they didn't know what to do because they were like, is this going to shock us? So is that socially sustainable? I don't know. So out of these results, do you want to add more keywords? We could do, all you do is add an and we can do, whoops, I don't want to do all caps. So what it's doing here is it's saying, okay, I want to find everything with electric automobile, narrow it down to those dates, and now out of that pile of 1,212 results, I want you to find everything that has the word environmental. And you don't have to type in environmental effects or impact. Environmental is strong enough by itself. Let's see what we get. If we get more, I bet my date range came back up. Oh yeah, why did you go back to 1940? That's when electric cars probably went like 10 feet and caught fire. There we go, down to 291. Here's how you find some of those things. I would encourage you from here to just go through like lists, or if is there something you're very interested in, like coal or like solar or the impact of specific things, you could just add that keyword right up here after the and. And if you go to advanced search, it would be like one line and then another line. I'll show you that in the next database. But for these, if you see one, maybe environmental impact would be the way to go. I'll do that in the next database. But if you see one you like, you click on this full text available, and it will show you a list of databases that the article might exist in, or it might just throw you right into the database. There we go. Oh, I heard Brazil was getting into it. Brazil, Tokyo, Paris, Rome, all those big cities, lots of density. It makes sense there. Okay, let me show you database. So that was kind of generic. Let's get into the environmental stuff, right? There's two databases I want to show you. If you're not familiar with databases, these typically are lists of journals that have discipline specificity. So that means if you go by subject here, you could see all the journals on aerospace studies, or you could see all the journals on computer science. And you could find electric cars in all of these, I bet, to some extent or another. But let's go to engineering and see what's there. Oh, they don't have a required recommended database. Okay, let me back out. The engineering ones would have it. I know one in particular. If you want to go from the engineering specifically, there's one called Engineering Village. I love. Not everyone in engineering loves this one, but I sure do. So I will show you that one because I think it's easy to get into. Engineering Village. I think the reason they called it that was because it was a single discipline, and then it grew to like computer, electrical, mechanical. But if you go in here, let's do that same search and see if they have criteria for us. So now we're just in those disciplines, and it's just peer-reviewed scholarship with a few letters to the editor thrown in for good measure. And I'm going to do electric automobile and environmental. Did I misspell it? Oh, I did. Environmental. Thank God for spell check. Okay, now we're not just everywhere, but we're looking just in these, and there's only 13. That's great. So there's a planning strategy. So they probably have a criteria of where's a good place to put them and where's a bad place. And here's performance analysis, so you can see how well they work. Here's the charge mode, because I heard that if you charge them really fast, they wear out quicker than if you charge really slow. It's interesting, there's not a lot of, I was hoping for environmental engineering. An appraisal of the power sources. Okay, maybe that's environmental. Engineering Village is a good place. There's another one. That is a sustainability database. It's called Greenfile. Okay, I'm going to show you 3 databases. Greenfile is number 2. Green. Greenfile. This is environmental literature, but it's scholarship. So I think it skews heavily on the social. Automobile. Copy this so I don't have to do that again. So now we're in sustainability literature. There'll be some engineering, there'll be some political science. Ooh, assessments from internal. Oh, that one might be really good. So if you see one that looks pretty good, ooh, and it was published just like in the last 2 years. This one looks like it's spot on. If this is one that you really like, all you have to do is click on the title, and it'll send you into a deeper record where you can read the abstract. So here's the abstract telling you basically what the article is all about. This one might be good. And over here on the right, you can cite it. So if you're using APA or MLA, there's a citation generator. So there's that. And you can also email it to yourself. On this one in particular, if you like this one, there's 2 things you should be aware of. One is the subject terms that the authors of the articles have decided are the most important thing. You can click on any of those and get more information. And, oops, don't go back. Go forward. Shoot. Okay, it stayed in my record. The next thing is to get the full text, you have to click on this Find It, View It button. Sometimes the full text is there, sometimes it's not. And this will go to the catalog and it'll say, okay, it might show up in these databases. If you can't get the full text for something, send me the citation. I'll track it down for you. So the list of databases are this one. So if you click on this, it will get you the article. Okay, last database. I'm going to copy this again just in case. Last database is when politicians get together and argue about these things. They cite things and they do case studies. They ask their constituency what they think. That would be public policy. So my favorite database for stuff like this is PAIS, which means nothing, but it's public policy, under the letter P. And so this one, you can see what countries have put this together, electric cars, and the criteria that they used. So there's my same old search. I mean, you could throw in other keywords, obviously. But I bet this one will have, oh, it didn't like my star. Well, at any rate, there'll be, oh, look at that. Oh, this one might have, oh, this one's from 2001. I was going to say this might have good criteria. Here you can see the years that it's been written about. And you can also, you can narrow down that date range, or you can sort by the newest first. So if you want to do kind of like a survey of like what's been going on. Whoa, disaggregated modeling of systems supporting the development of greenhouse gas mitigation policies. Ooh, that's a dissertation. Do you see that? So be careful. If you grab one of these, you're in for it. They go on for hundreds of pages. Scholarly journals are a lot better. So they're testing. Everyone's going to approach it a different way. Overcoming the barriers, interest groups, that might more of the social. Isn't that cool? So, for what it's worth, let me know how it goes. I think your topic is awesome, and I think you'll find more than enough to get I think you need 3 minimum articles. But do let me know how it goes, and I'm happy to help further.